Welcome, this is Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai. Several days ago, I promised many of you that I would be doing a quote-unquote State of the Senate address, hashtag SOTS, as a response to President Trump's recent State of the Union address. I think this is important because I believe candidates who are running for Senate need to also take the perspective of providing their input on what's going on right now. In President Trump's speech, one of the most important things he addressed was immigration. And that question about immigration has been quite a contentious thing across this country, across Republicans and Democrats. You know, President Lincoln, in my view, is one of my most favorite presidents. He had to deal with the issue of civil rights, the issue of slavery at a time when that too was ripping apart this country. Today is the first day of Black History Month. So I want to give you my perspective on immigration and what I believe can really help bring this country together. Just a quick background, my parents and I came here in 1970. In fact, I left India on my 7th birthday, December 2nd, 1963. We boarded the plane and landed here about 3 days later. In those days, you had to go through multiple stops. On December 5th, 1970, I landed at John F. Kennedy Airport, and I'll come back to it because I believe the Kennedys are one of the most important families, at least one of the well-known families in American history. But when I came here in 1970, I remember vividly landing off the plane, the TWA plane. I was wearing shorts. It was snowing on that day, and I'd never seen snow in my life. Shortly thereafter, a great American family picked us up. We didn't have winter clothes. They took us as a Salvation Army, and we got our set of winter clothes. And that began my journey in America. I went through the public school systems of New Jersey, worked very hard, went to the public school systems in Paterson, a predominantly African American city, one of the poorest cities, and still to this day, then Clifton, then Parsippany, and then ended up in Livingston, one of the wealthiest school systems, all public school systems. By the time I was 14, I worked hard. I really appreciated what America had to give. And in particular, as a student by the age of 14, I finished up calculus and actually got an opportunity to work full-time at a medical school where I invented the first email system. That started my journey into technology, entrepreneurialism, and science. Went off to MIT, ended up doing 4 degrees, starting 7 companies. But the journey I just shared with you is a journey of all Americans. We've all gone through the same journey, either directly or one of our grandparents or parents. But that is the American journey of immigration. When you look at what's going on and what the contentious issues that are going on today, we got to understand that there are some important principles. In fact, there's one guiding principle which I believe can actually help bring us together. You know, John Kennedy is a great hero of mine. The Kennedys have done a lot for this country. John Kennedy, at the time of his presidency, there was the entire notion of merit-based immigration. After Kennedy, LBJ really changed that to allow citizens to come in on less merit-based immigration. But the foundations of America, I think all of us can agree, left or right, liberal or conservative, Republican or Democrat, was built on the concept of merit. That's why my parents left India. You see, India had a caste-based system. It wasn't based on what you did, but where you were born, e.g. the birth lottery. So we were considered low-caste untouchables in India, or deplorables. So my parents left India because they saw the huge opportunity for my sister and I to excel based on merit. That's why my parents came here. In fact, many people came here primarily up until the early 70s because of this merit-based system. After 1965-70, that merit-based system started to change, to become more based on other attributes, which is what I believe the contention really starts at. Today we have close to 11 million illegal immigrants, many of them who came here without following the rules. Now I can tell you this, I believe that any country, any system needs to follow rules. And when we do not follow those rules, that's when problems occur. So the people on the left, and I don't think this is everyday people, but I believe it's a career politicians, are really pushing forward this idea that it's okay for illegal immigration to take place. Well, once you allow that, you really don't have a country, and this is not a left or right issue. Because as I can share with you my own personal experience, the meritocracy is what makes America great. when we look at the current issue, we have one set of people believing that the merit-based system should not move forward. But once you let that merit-based model start withering away, you will start having the degeneration of this country, because what you start putting forward is, again, where you are from, not what you do. To me, what was interesting about the Democrat response was they had a young 37-year-old Joseph Kennedy III deliver that response. As I said, I have great respect for the Kennedys. If it wasn't for John Kennedy, my parents would likely not be here. I know Bobby Kennedy quite well. I've done a recent movie with him. But what's ironic is that here, 37-year-old Joe Kennedy is the one delivering the response. And I ask anyone listening to this, why is it that he has the opportunity to deliver that response? Is it because of what he has done, or is it because of the Kennedy name? Here I stand at 53 years old. I've gone through the American public school system, worked hard, started 7 companies, contributed to this country, and yet in the current political system, I have to struggle likely 10 times, and what I'm noticing in this senatorial campaign, 10 times more than the insiders. And that is not what America was about. America was not about cutting in front of line. It was about paying your due, working hard, and succeeding. That's what this country was about. Elizabeth Warren, and I believe certain people of the career politicians, not all Republicans, not all Democrats, are pushing forward an agenda that it is okay to cut in front of a line. That's why I've also been sharing this notion of the fake Indian versus a real Indian. It's not to attack Warren as a person, but it's to expose the fact that she is fundamentally against meritocracy. She thinks it's okay to cut in front of line. That's why she faked her Native American identity to get into Harvard. And that is why I believe people like Joe Kennedy are being used by the Democrats to put his name forward, to use the Kennedy brand to support the interests of career politicians. So it is Black History Month. It is the first day of Black History Month, and this country needs to start recognizing that we cannot live in an aristocratic model. Harvard University, where Elizabeth Warren is from, where Harvard Law School is from, unfortunately, in my opinion, is still based on a non-merit-based system. 30% of the admissions to Harvard are based on who you know, where the money was donated from, not what you actually did. So fundamentally, when you come to immigration, I think the way we can bring this country together, as Lincoln had to do at the troubling times he underwent, is to go to the foundational principle of this country, which was about what you do, not what you were born from, not what family you were born into, whether you're a Kennedy or an Ayyadurai. It's where you come from. Not where you come from, but what you do. So as I close this, I want to again thank all of you to support our campaign, Shiva for Senate. As you know, our campaign is about a single principle. Let's declare our independence. You know, when you look back at John Kennedy, again, a great hero of mine, John Kennedy was a time in American history where he was starting to expose, as Eisenhower was, the military-industrial academic complex. Many historians, like John Kenneth Galbraith, clearly have enunciated that John Kennedy wanted to end the Vietnam War. His policy was to pull out troops. We can delve into this further, but it's clear that after he put forward that policy, his assassination took place. I'm not proposing a conspiracy theory, but I can tell you unequivocally that John Kennedy was against the system of the military-industrial complex, and he too would support a campaign like mine, which is to declare our independence, to go back to merit-based systems. And that's what the immigration system is really about, or the immigration discussion. So I encourage all of you to look at this in a fresh new perspective. I'm an immigrant, I came through the American journey, and we really need to get back to the foundational principle of meritocracy. Thank you very much. This is Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai.